everyone. It's a really hot day today here. Boy, if the traffic and the motorbikes don't get you, the heat will.
Asia is full of some of the most chaotic but fascinating driving environments on the planet.
Like fish in a school of fish. Let's go, move! You know, the first time you drive in Asia, you make the same mistake that every foreigner makes. And that is that the road has rules. Now, of course, there are traffic lights and lanes and road signs and things like this, but they seem to function more as guidelines than actual rules. You know, motorbikes are passing in front of you, double crossing lanes. Pedestrians seem to wander wherever they want to go. You know, there's little old ladies selling banh mi in the middle of a street. And when you see people walking in the street, they don't look around. It's like they're in their own little world. They are in no particular hurry to go anywhere. They just kind of wander aimlessly. Some might look at it and say it's chaos. And of course there's the honking. The honking is not to show aggression.
Horns are not an insult. A horn is just another form of communication. It might mean, hey, I'm passing you. It might mean, heads up, I see you. Or it could just be a friendly, hey, we're all in this together. The more you stop taking horns personally, the ride becomes more peaceful.
And when you first start driving here, you kind of grab onto the wheel. You try to make sense of everything around you. But it does not take long for you to realize how to truly navigate it. And the secret is to simply go with the flow. This secret is nothing new. It's something that we do in our everyday lives. It is not anarchy. It is simply flow, like water down a river. I remember a long time ago, back in China, one of the very first days that I was there, very first days I was on the road on my own. You get out in traffic and you charge it and you try to survive. And I was following this older man on a motorbike, and he wasn't darting through traffic crazily. Instead, he was kind of maneuvering and just not speeding up, not slowing down, just kind of moving with the flow, like fish in a school of fish. He wasn't moving through traffic too aggressively, but he also wasn't passive. He didn't stress about things. He almost anticipated the movements of everyone else before they actually did it. That anticipation of the unknown is one of the key elements of driving around here. And it's that moment that you realize that driving in Asia is not about control. It's about awareness, staying present in the moment, adjusting as you need to go. It is mindfulness in motion. You know, in the West, we are accustomed to rules. There are these rules, and we act under the assumption that everyone else will follow these rules. And that's why in the West, you drive very quickly. You drive down the road, you see a car coming into an intersection, you have the obvious right of way, they will stop. You are assured, almost 100% assured, that they will stop and let you go. The expectation is that the other people will follow those existing driving cultures that we have. But if you bring those expectations to Asia, it's dangerous and you're going to get in a lot of trouble.
I've been driving in Asia for nearly 10 years, but even prior to that, I've driven in a lot of other countries around the world. And, driving in Asia is not that difficult. A lot of people look at it and say, oh, it's nuts, I can't do it.
There's an undeserved stereotype about Asian drivers, that they are dangerous or that they drive too slow. That's more of a function of the driving culture that exists here. And if they are driving in the West, they haven't adjusted to the driving culture there. I wouldn't say one is more dangerous than the other. They're just different.
A lot of people here in Asia will look at a foreigner and say, foreigners don't know how to drive here. So it's the same thing. It's not true at all. I mean, it really is not difficult.
When you drive here, you are very aware of everything. I mean, you're at 10 and 2, you're looking around constantly, and you realize that the reason is because it's more about being aware of your surroundings in the present moment. And everyone does that because everyone expects the unexpected. It's that feeling of unpredictability that everyone here has. It's based on observation, not assumption. And once you flip that paradigm in your head, it becomes very easy. In fact, it becomes kind of a beautiful thing. And these little changes in your perspective, these little flips of the paradigm, you're no longer rushing to get to where you need to go, whether it be work or school, wherever you need to go. You're not rushing. Instead, you're enjoying the ride. And that's why driving is so pleasurable, no matter what country you're in. See, here there are lanes in the road, but nobody follows them. They just wander in and out. And it is true, at least here in Vietnam, this year, they've updated a lot of the traffic fines. So that has caused drivers to be a little more cautious, especially when it comes to red lights, because running a red light could cost you as much as 20 million dong. Speeding, driving in the wrong lanes, all of these fines have been increased. And so in the bigger cities, not necessarily here in Da Nang, but in the bigger cities, the commute times there are cameras in some of the intersections, but it's not nearly the type of CCTV infrastructure that you found in China, where every few meters there seems to be another camera taking your photo. But, there's speed cameras on the highways in China. They don't necessarily have that here, but it wouldn't surprise me if it is coming soon. There's a moment at every red light where it's an opportunity for you to slow down. I know a lot of people, and myself included, especially growing up in Los Angeles, you get to a red light and you just kind of, let's go, move. As I've gotten older, I've learned that red lights can be these little moments of meditation, these moments in time where I can stop, relax before continuing on. They're not an intrusion into your life. What they are little moments and opportunities for you to return to the present moment, even just for a couple of seconds. And all of this is true whether you're driving a car or driving a motorbike. It's the same. There's a lot more freedom involved with a motorbike here in Vietnam as opposed to a car. Number one, parking, but also weaving through traffic. You have a dedicated lane on the right just for motorbikes. Somehow, it all works.
Driving in Asia is not for the faint of heart. It's a full contact sport. It's a ballet of near misses, and at times a test of your spiritual patience. Driving without fear. There's a balance between being too cautious and too aggressive. When you first arrive, you might be terrified to go through an intersection. You might hesitate too long, you let motorbikes go in front of you, you let motorbikes pile up behind you. You might react to everything a little too quickly with unnecessary urgency. Letting go of road rage before it starts. There might have been a time in the past where road rage kind of got to me. It could be something as simple as, a car pulling out in front of you, or a motorbike trying to squeeze in between two cars barely big enough for a child, or a giant truck trying to make a U-turn at what seems to be negative speed. Each time you feel irritation starting to creep in, but all you have to do is ask yourself a question. Do you want to be right? Or do you want to be at peace? The reality is no amount of frustration will make the traffic move any differently. I see the way traffic kind of moves and bends and seemingly makes space where there shouldn't be any space. It just kind of happens. I can see the unspoken understanding between all the other drivers, where we all kind of fit into places that normally we shouldn't be fitting in. If you've ever found yourself in the middle of an intersection wondering what's the best strategy here, is it just blind acceleration or meditative intervention? You're definitely not alone. But what if we swapped stress for stillness? So here in Asia, the best advice is to simply let go and just ride the wave. Mindful driving is not just a gimmick. It is a necessary tool for navigating the chaos of the roads. Once upon a time here in Asia, driving on the roads here was like mastering the art of merging without merging, dodging obstacles, dodging motorbikes, dodging pedestrians. Going back in history, in much of the region, personal transportation was human-powered. It was rickshaws or human-powered sedans, or a reliance on animals. If you were rich, you had people carry you. If you were average, You just walk. Cars didn't actually start showing up here until the mid-20th century, and even then they were rare and they were exclusively for the elite. Fast forward to today, and Asia is full of some of the most chaotic but fascinating driving environments on the planet. Mass car ownership is a fairly recent phenomenon, and you can feel it in the way people drive. There's an improvisational energy to it. Take Vietnam, for example. Traffic lights do exist here, but they are not everywhere. And where they are, in many cases, they act more as blind recommendations. Meanwhile, if you go to Japan, everything runs in seemingly military precision. Two vastly different approaches, but both sharing an intense requirement for situational awareness. China's rapid urbanization has led to a huge increase of new drivers hitting the road in the last 2 decades, and that often brings rural driving habits to the modern city streets. A study of over 1,000 Chinese drivers actually found that aggressive driving is culturally ingrained into their driving behaviors. Japan, on the other hand, has a long history of car ownership, but it also has some of the most strictest car regulations in the world. In Japan, it's not just getting a driver's license because you know how to drive. It's more about being a responsible citizen. Southeast Asia operates on a much different set of unwritten rules altogether. If you can cross the street in Ho Chi Minh City without flinching, you have the makings of being a mindfulness master. Traffic is fluid. It's a self-regulating organism, and surviving it requires the ultimate in presence. The idea of mindful driving isn't just this feel-good feeling. It's actually backed by lots and lots of research. A study on mindfulness driving situations in simulations actually concluded that those with a higher level of mindfulness actually have a better sense of situational awareness and make fewer errors. In other words, staying calm and present while you're driving not only makes you feel better, but it also makes you drive safer. And let's face it, driving in Asia can be a mental workout. And big cities throughout Asia and indeed the world are now recognizing the mental toll that driving can have. That's why there's been a huge rise in interest in technology-driven mindfulness solutions. Some companies are experimenting with Zen Ride, using extended reality to allow passengers in autonomous vehicles to practice mindfulness meditation while commuting. Imagine stepping into a rideshare and getting some kind of self-guided meditation as opposed to this aggressive EDM constantly playing. Some countries are even introducing mindfulness-based stress reduction in their driver training courses, helping taxi and truck drivers stay alert without burning out. And even urban planning is shifting, with cities like Singapore and Tokyo starting to develop human-centered traffic signs in order to increase the flow of traffic. Mindful driving is more than just staying calm in traffic. It's also about enjoying the ride, maybe even getting lost. It's about learning to appreciate the journey itself without necessarily fixating on the destination, which is not the present, that's your future. Sometimes when you allow yourself to drive aimlessly, awareness is actually sharpened. You begin to notice things that you wouldn't normally notice and that you would just drive by and miss. Hidden cafes tucked behind small alleys, these beautiful temples that seem to stand mysteriously behind hidden storefronts, and of course all the beautiful scenery that, quite frankly, doesn't get into all the guidebooks. In many ways, driving without a destination is actually driving in the present moment. It is the very definition of mindful driving. Without the mental load of constantly looking at the map or worrying when the next turn is going to be, your mind settles into the experience. Your mind becomes more attuned to the world around you, the rhythm of the road underneath your tires, the changing of the lights around you. Some of our best discoveries happen by accident, by staying in the present. There's a reason why some of the most memorable travel stories begin with, I was driving and I took a wrong turn. If you live or travel in Asia, driving can test your patience. Instead of seeing it as an exercise in madness, try taking it as an exercise in mindfulness. The next time someone cuts you off, just take a deep breath. In fact, take a deep breath right now. See, you feel better, don't you? Instead of reacting, observe. Instead of honking in frustration, adjust. And instead of resisting the flow, move through it. Because in the end, the road isn't something that we should be fighting. It is something that we need to navigate with presence, with clarity, and perhaps even a little humor.